Mark, can I turn it to you? What's the ethos behind Jolla and obviously specifically Sailfish, and what are we seeing from, or what can we expect to see from Sailfish with regards to innovation in the coming months?
So first off, I'm really happy to see so much synergy here. So we're at a crossroads in mobile, and everybody's talking about concern about innovation, or is there innovation left? And really what we're looking at is we're at a crossroads, and it's either going nowhere, the status quo, or there's three excellent choices for diversity that are sitting on the stage here. And I was thinking about it. There was some concern before we got up here that is this going to turn into some kind of competition? And I realized that if we are in competition, then we've all already won, because that's really what is happening about creating diversity from the existing walled gardens and the existing couple of ecosystems that everyone is talking about. It's really what we're all here looking for and what we're all trying to do. HTML5 is a great solution. Being able to execute applications from other ecosystems is like one of the things that we've been looking at. So being able to make sure that there's diversity and choice. So standards and all of these kinds of things are great, but to me it's like diversity is the thing that creates innovation. So like at Jolla we have 16 countries at the moment that are represented by the 60 employee base that we're creating a mobile device with. And bringing together different thoughts, different views, different viewpoints is what innovation really is about, because it's about taking multiple views, multiple ideas, and then something new starts to come from that. So I think there's a huge amount of synergy in what we're doing here. And I think that creating the diversity, even the three choices that we have here on the stage, consumers are going to start to understand that they have had no choice. They've had a couple of choices, and now it's almost no choice for them. They're used to one or they're used to the other. So now they're going to start to understand that they have a choice, and they're going to start looking for other choices. And then actually it comes down to a meritocracy, which is I think something that's very important to all three of us here on the stage, that they will have a choice to look and they will say, this is the one that resonates for me, or this is the user experience. We're spending a huge amount of energy on user experience as well, and I saw the things that Ubuntu had today, and it's we're thinking a lot of similar things but doing them in different ways. So, but it's going to come down to people are going to want to find something that resonates for them, and if they don't have the choice, if they don't see that there is different choices, then they can't buy something that's not offered to them. So I think it's a really good start that we have here, and we're all heading in similar directions but different ways, and providing choice and diversity for consumers is always really good, and they don't really have it at the moment.
Thank you very much. So if we look back prior to 2007, there was a huge amount of talk about the benefits of open source and open standards, and we saw a lot of initiatives that failed to come to pass. And in 2007, Apple came to the market and completely transformed the landscape, and that was with a very tightly controlled model coupled around the device, the content, the service model, everything. So what does that suggest? Do consumers not just want something that works in a very tightly controlled fashion, that they can take and use and access content seamlessly, rather than having to trawl the web and find applications that may be distributed here, there, and everywhere?
Well, they realized that they're in people's pockets with the iPod. And then they said, okay, well, while we're in there, we should get some of the money from there. So let's start to sell the music. And then the same thing with the iPhone. It's like, well, okay, let's build our own garden and let's sell applications in there. And now we can create a whole new business model. And by the way, haha, Google, there goes your cloud. Now you're going to be chasing us and doing the same exact thing for all of this time. So it's really come to the point where it's closed so much from having just these two players who are doing just these couple of things, and created the need for the change that we're all up here to provide, and the ability to actually take those walls and tear them down, and show that actually by working together and collaborating in new ways, then we're able to do new things together. So it's actually we've all gotten to this point now where the hardware is now becoming a commodity. Like Mark was saying, the only thing that they can differentiate on an Android device is the number of cores, and how many megahertz. I have more megahertz, mine's bigger than yours, and then all of this kind of thing. And it's actually not even utilizing the capability of the devices. So like we're demoing on 3-year-old hardware the stuff that we have with Sailfish all of the time, and it's like we're going to have to slow it down to put it on the modern hardware that now that's the only selling point that they have left. So let's turn it back to something where the selling point is actually something that, actually enables something for the user and gives them something that actually adds value to their life, instead of just, okay, mine is bigger or has a different color. So, and what it's done is it's created a commodity everywhere. So to get a new application out, like we were talking about the local applications versus, international, or what's trending in New York City. It's like what you have now is the hardware is a commodity because the software is all the same. The applications are becoming a commodity because you practically have to win the lottery in order to get a new application into a store with 600,000 or 800,000 applications and have somebody notice. And the operators are facing the same thing. They're getting squeezed into becoming only a bit pipe. So it's like the need for change and the need for innovation, and to say, we're not going to take this anymore. We're going to go a different place, and we're going to do something new.
But one of the challenges that we've seen in the past is that the collaboration ethos of open source, and the fact that, and particularly in the mobile context, when you have many contributors, tends to slow down time to market, slows down the commercialization process, and we've seen that with a number of different initiatives. The wholesale applications community was a big theme that we talked about a year ago, 2 years ago, the Limo Foundation before that, and none of these really made the progress. So I suppose, Mark, if I can ask you first, what changes that with the open source model that Ubuntu is pursuing? And similarly, interested in what Mozilla and Jolla specifically think of that. So Mark, if I can just ask you, is it fair to say that the industry has learned the lessons from the Limo Foundation and a whole raft of other initiatives that have promised a lot and ultimately underdelivered?
Well, I knew the lesson a long time ago, so it's difficult to look at that. Our approach is to make a wonderful product, and we're working really hard to make software and hardware. You can create each of these with some level of difficulty and expertise. Putting the two together is really challenging, to get them together and then take the raw materials and crank it up to a product. And fortunately, that's what we do. That's who we are. We've been doing this. We have like 600 years of product creation experience with 60 guys. So our approach is to lead by example in the open community as much as possible, and we're in a lot of different communities. We have a lot of shared code between the three of us. And lead by example, and then get out a fantastic product. And that's really what starts to show that it is possible. And then, one of the reasons that we're here is because of community. So we're all here because of community efforts. And when you lead by example and you hold to community values, then you get a following and you get support. And that's like where our key followers came from. So the movement goes on as the next set of followers involve the next set and involve the next set. And that's who our key early adopters are, and our key technology stylists, and the ones that are going to bring us all the success that is coming to us. So
what we've talked a lot about here is obviously the consistent basis of all the software platforms that we're talking about, and that's HTML5. But if HTML5 is very much the talking point of the industry, it's the buzzword of Mobile World Congress, but is there not a danger that the bar has been set too high in terms of expectation, and that HTML5 ends up reiterating the doomed ethos that we saw with Java as this write once, run anywhere technology runtime?
To be honest, we hedged our bets. So we had Qt and Android applications and HTML5. And then we looked at it like that, but we're all in. I see this as a great opportunity to actually level the playing field. Was one of the key things that came up here. But the other way that we have to look at this is the ability to take the different ecosystems and provide some kind of synergy. So it's not mine or yours, but it's all of them. It sounds funny, but I meant it at the time. That somebody asked a few weeks ago, Mark, how many ecosystems do you see in a few years? I said, I don't know, but I think they should all run on Sailfish. And that's the way that we looked at it. It's like, well, why not take this openness and be able to do that. But on the topic of openness and collaboration and all of that, another thing that came to mind was, I think one of the reasons for our success was we put minimal constraints around developers. So this means that in order to, the ways of working and the ways of collaborating and the ways of organizing the work and all of this kind of thing, we did a very community spirit, which is like, okay, these are the things that we think are important, go work on it. And this is a very community kind of oriented thing that like what Mitchell was bringing up. These kinds of things only happen when you create an environment where people are free to try new things and innovate. And then somebody does something and maybe they even make a mistake and someone else says, hey, look, we can take this and we can do something. And then people get together, they get excited, they run off and they do it. And now you have a new innovation, you have a new application, you have a new operating system, you have a new browser, you have all kinds of new things.
Yeah.
So.
Let me just ask a question on that then, to kind of close that off before we go to the audience questions. You talk about a vast landscape, but the HTML5 implementation across all these 3 software platforms is different. And it's different across a huge range of devices that are currently available today. So how does the industry conquer that problem? Because HTML5 isn't a one-size-fits-all solution yet, is it? Could we ever expect to see the 3 platforms that we have represented here today working together to ensure a consistent HTML5 profile? So consistent on Sailfish, Firefox OS, and Ubuntu?
Well, the standard's so far out. That was my biggest concern. The thing,
Yeah.
having the standard for HTML5 is so far out. That's a long time from now. It was 2022 or something, the last I heard. So when is this kind of standard to be leveled? Because that was actually one of our biggest concerns. So actually, and by the way, the same thing was said about Qt, which we have people eating their fists now because Qt is actually performing and it's giving the level and the performance that wasn't expected. But
Hi, Jeff. I'm hearing from the panel that having 3 open source platforms is actually good. If 3 is good, would 5 be better? What about the views of the panel on Tizen or on WebOS as possible alternatives? Would that make the matter even richer and even better? And if 5 is good, how about 7?
So what do we think? Where's the limit going to be? How many platforms can succeed?
well, are you a Ford guy or a Toyota guy? So how many different car choices do you need? How many different, do you like broccoli or bananas? So, I think that's not really the relevant point here. Is that, you have 2 choices at the moment, and if you're happy with one of those, that's fine. But I believe that because of those, we haven't really gotten a whole lot of new things here. So about the open source, I mean, we are all sharing code. We have a girl on our staff with a Firefox tattoo on her belly, for gosh sakes. And we have a lot of code that's shared with Ubuntu as well. And this is a great thing because people have come together and they've created those things. And I think that still providing the choice is always going to be a better thing for consumers, and it's always going to provide more opportunities for people to do something new, and it's most importantly for something to resonate. I keep hitting the microphone because I keep touching my heart. For something to resonate with people's hearts.
If the web is becoming the platform, and you've got a base level of drivers that's been made available from Android, for example, is there an argument that the value is moving up through the software stack to the web, and therefore we could see even more fragmentation of the base operating system? But that's not necessarily an issue for the industry if the value is moving up the stack and you've got consistency at a runtime level, and particularly with HTML5.
Well, one of the things Mark and I have talked about a lot is the user experience, and there's something about native performance for certain things. So and I believe that this is going to be around for a while, because to make a device that works magically, that knows exactly what you want before you ask it, that is always there and has the things that are ready for you always available. I think that's something that it's going to be a little while, and that there's still an opportunity for these native things until this comes along.
Please.
Shall I stand? We've seen Android be co-opted by Amazon and many of the other lower profile manufacturers, I guess, smaller manufacturers. if you're releasing everything as open source, what stops the same thing happening to you and for your goals to be undermined by big players in the industry? How do you stop Samsung coming along and destroying or eliminating your brand name and your branding and making it almost their own?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Leading by example is one of the things that open source communities are all about. So it's all about show me the code and about if we lead with great products and we continue to contribute, people have two options. They can make a fork and then they're reintegrating all the time, which is exactly what happened with Android. They started to get more and more closed, and now it's not open source anymore, it's source open. So you can create whatever innovation you want, and then the next release is going to come along and kapow. It's going to break a lot of different things. So if you really want to keep this together, then you contribute, and that's where the meritocracy comes from, and that's where the commonality comes from. But people can always take a fork and do different things. But one of the things that we're trying to do, and I think I've heard this theme here today as well, is to make it so that people will want to contribute, because they will want to see and be a part of the next release exactly when it comes out, not 2 months later when they've reintegrated all of their stuff.